Hi, it's Kai and welcome back to my channel. Today we have the empties, or like the final empties of 2024. These are all of the products that I finished at the end of the year, like the end of November and December of last year. But we know how these empties videos usually go. They're usually pretty long. I like to go kind of in depth with each product, or as in depth as I can go without making this video 3 hours long. So let's just stop the chatter and get into it. Of course, we have house products. The first is the Febreze Pet Odor Fighter in the fresh scent, the fabric spray. And I like this. I just feel as though like it smells good. It kind of has one of those like fresh apple crisp type of fruity scents to it, but I just don't know if this actually, like, I just don't feel like this lasts on my items. I feel like the Febreze Unstoppables ones in particular do, and then like other brands of, fabric sprays, but I feel like when I spray this, it's gone basically the same day that I spray it. And I would just like it to keep my items a little bit fresher for a little bit longer, especially considering this is supposed to be like the pet odor fighter. And I mean, I only have cats and they never really go outside of the litter box. So thankfully, I don't really have to do a whole bunch of cleaning up or worry about my apartment in general smelling like there's, cat pee or pet pee and poop stains and smells everywhere. But I don't know. I feel like this is just kind of lackluster. Maybe I've just tried some like nicer and even like more luxury laundry and fabric products. So now the generic stuff can kind of be like, okay, like, it's cheap, but I feel like there's innovation going on that could make this last longer. Anyway, I'll probably still buy Febreze from time to time. Right now, because I'm trying to be a little bit more frugal currently, I am cutting out some things that are deemed unnecessary to me, and like fabric spray is one of them. I'm kind of just like, let me just go ahead and put like my blankets and fabrics and stuff in the wash if I want them to smell good. So yeah, other than the fact that of course like you can't really put your couch in the wash, but I feel like my couch doesn't really smell like anything because me and my pets don't really hang out on it that much. Anyway, all that is to say, it's nice. It's not a necessity for me. One product that I do really enjoy are the Downy Unstoppables Fusions. This is the Twilight and Jasmine scent boosters. And this again has one of those really like fresh fruity types of scents to it. I have talked about this a lot. I feel like I don't really need to talk about this, the product, nor the scent. I like scent boosters for my clothing. It helps get rid of like the smell of musty towels. And like when you put things up in the closet, you know how sometimes keeping sheets or again, towels, things like that in your closet when you don't use it for a while, it gets that like, just kind of generic closet smell. I feel like this helps combat things like that too. And it's just a part of my laundry routine that I like. I have been finding these at Aldi as well. So I've been able to still buy them with them being less expensive than getting them in any other place, because admittedly at like Target and Walmart and even Kroger and places like that, these are like 15, I think, is the most that I've seen it. Like even for this size, they're $15, and then like sometimes they'll go down to maybe 12 or $13. And at Aldi, they're sometimes like $7 or $8. So definitely if you are able to find these at Aldi, check out like Aldi before buying them from any other retailer. Something I haven't talked about much, but is something that I repurchase over and over again, like pretty much every one of my Chewy orders, if you were to look at them for the past like 3 years or so, have had one of these. It's the, ooh, some came off the lid, but it's the Arm & Hammer Double Duty Litter Deodorant. I like to just put this at the very bottom of my litter box before putting the litter on top of it. And number one, I like that in combination with using the wood pellet, litter. I feel as though I don't really have an issue with my, again, apartment smelling like cat pee and poop, and not even it really smelling like, cat litter, because sometimes there can just be like, it doesn't really smell bad or like pee and poop, but it just kind of smells like a cat litter box presence. That doesn't really happen for me personally. I feel like the pine pellets definitely have a distinct enough scent that, you know, my apartment just kind of smells like general woodiness. And even when my cats like dig through it to cover their poop or attempt to cover their poop, because they're not really good at actually covering their poop, I feel like it just smells more like the pine pellets themselves instead of pee or poop. But I like adding this because it adds just like a little bit of kind of like a floral cleanliness to it, but it's made with baking soda. So I feel like it's, you know, nice and safe and nothing that is going to harm my cats. I've had used it for years and it hasn't harmed my cats. So I prefer this to any other like litter box deodorizer. I also like putting it on the bottom, you know, just like a nice little layer on the bottom of the litter box, because then when I go to scoop the litter or change out the litter, as you know, with the pellet litter, it like the wetness of the pee breaks it down into almost sawdust. And sometimes that sawdust can get stuck to the litter box. And I feel like using this helps keep those areas like less wet and less sticking to the litter box. So then I'm not having to like do a full clean or like full wipe out and all of that each time I am adding more litter or changing the litter out. So again, something that I absolutely swear by and will continue purchasing. I mean, as long as they make it. I believe this is the last house fragrance type of thing. It's the Future Society Solar Canopy candle. They so graciously sent this to me along with some other fragrance items, and Solar Canopy is one of my favorite scents from them. It is like if you took Delina and Hibiscus Mahajad and added like a little bit of a spicy, peppery edge to it, and you get this scent. And I feel like it just does a good job with being that kind of like fruity, ambergris, musky profile without it smelling like something that we've smelled before a million and one times. Like I have fragrances, of course, that make me think of it, or like the general scent category of those like fruity, expensive kind of smelling fragrances. But this one, again, I just really like it. I like it both in like body care, the fragrance itself, like the perfume, as well as in the house care. As far as the candle itself, I do think that the candle is really good quality because it had nice scent throw, even like cold throw when it wasn't being lit. But it was a candle that, while I wouldn't say it filled up my entire apartment with the smell, like my apartment, the way that it is, it's like my bedroom is very detached from where the living room is, and most of the time I burn these in the living room. But it's one that once I turn the corner to get into my living room, I can immediately smell this, and it like fills up my living room, dining room, kitchen area, like all of the parts of the apartment that are connected to each other. So I do think it has pretty good throw without it being, you know, like suffocating. There were also a few nights, which I know it's bad, but sometimes like I just fall asleep. If I do go to sleep on the couch or I'm like hanging out on the couch watching a movie or something, I'll fall asleep. So I have accidentally fallen asleep with this burning. My apartment didn't burn down, so that's a good thing. It's not, you know, going to hopefully go up in flames if you accidentally leave it. But I also didn't feel like that made the candle itself burn quicker. Like obviously I used it up quicker than I would have if I had not fallen asleep with it burning, but I didn't feel as though like, oh, I left it burning for one night and now 99% of the candle is gone. It would just kind of be like, oh, you know, maybe I can burn it for like a day or so less, or I'll finish it up a day or so quicker. I actually don't recall how much these are. And again, I don't find candles, at least not right now, to be a necessity for like my home scent. So I haven't really been purchasing candles and probably won't repurchase this or like purchase this myself anytime soon. But it is one that if I did want my apartment to have this specific like fruity, lychee kind of floral, you know, scent to it, again, a little ambroxan even, if I wanted my apartment to have this scent, I would go and buy this candle. This technically isn't an empty. I used 2/3 of it and I actually did enjoy this product. It's the body or the TPH by Taraji Never Salty sugar-based scalp and hair scrub. I did enjoy this. However, something about it, and I've had sugar scrubs before in my apartment. I don't know if it's just like a pest issue with the apartment in general or what, but when I was using this, it was attracting ants to my bathroom and to my shower. And that's just not something that I like. Pests and bugs and stuff, I don't like dealing with that stuff. And the minute that I took this out of my shower, I cleaned out my shower, they stopped showing up. I put this like away from everything and I have not had an ant issue since. So unfortunately, while again, I've tried sugar scrubs from other brands, body scrubs, hair, scalp, whatever type of scrubs, they had sugar in them and that was not an issue for me. Again, I don't know if it's just like my apartment being kind of a crappy apartment for how much I'm paying, or if this just has something in it that is, not warding off bugs. Maybe there's other items that are put in sugar scrubs that can, keep bugs away or repel them. And it's not in this one. If you would have any idea about all of that, let me know. But yeah, unfortunately, I like this as a product. It's a miss as far as it being able to be in my life, in my space. I also finished this Blueberry Bliss from Curls. It's their Blueberry Bliss blueberry and coconut hair milk. And this was okay. I don't think I would repurchase it. I don't think it was like super moisturizing to my hair personally. It didn't really leave much shine. I mean, and even sometimes when I put it, and this is something that I've been having an issue with just with having shorter hair in general. I don't know what it is, but I feel like a lot of products just kind of sit on top of my head and my hair now instead of actually soaking into my head and my hair. So I feel like it kind of did that with this. And then if I try to reapply hair products on top, like to, just give my hair and scalp some moisturization between washes, I feel like every product just feels super heavy. It gunks up in my hair and my scalp and it just doesn't look good. So like while objectively my hair was okay while I was using this, my barber was saying my hair was growing nice and it was long and everything like that. It's just like the act of using it. It wasn't my favorite product to use and I don't think I would repurchase it. And that's kind of how as someone who's kind of like a baldy, this is even longer than like how I like to keep it these days. I'm just having a really difficult time finding hair products that actually work. So if you have any recommendations, again, I'll be trying things that I have, but it's making me realize like how little hair care is actually made for like your scalp and how much of it is just made like it's meant for trying to make you look like you have longer or stronger hair than you have. And when you don't have the need for any of those types of, claims for your hair care, it just kind of feels like this isn't really like all that. Another product that is in the same lane as that, this is the OGX Renewing Argan Oil of Morocco, and this is their extra penetrating oil for dry and coarse hair. I got sent this. I did not like it. It was one where I would literally just use it to try to finish it up. It felt like it did nothing. It barely makes your hair look shiny. I mean, maybe for people who don't have actual coarse hair, or like a thicker hair texture or coilier hair texture, that this will look more shiny, but it didn't and it still just kind of felt like the parts that looked shiny were just sitting on, it was because the product was beading on top of my hair, not because it was actually penetrating my hair and my scalp to make my hair and scalp moisturized or protected or anything like that. This is, again, probably the worst hair care product, the worst hair oil outside of the one that I had been using recently that I'm allergic to. Unfortunately, it gave me an allergic reaction. this is the worst hair oil that, I've tried in a really long time. So I wouldn't recommend that at all, even if you're just looking for something to make your hair look shiny and silky, unless you already have fairly shiny and silky hair on your own, that is just going to be like putting product. It does smell good. I will give it that. It smells great, but otherwise it just feels like, adding a product to my hair routine for the hell of adding one, not because it's actually doing anything. I technically cannot talk about these, but once I am able to talk about them, I sure will. But a brand sent me over some, little testers for a product that is going to be coming out. And when I tell you, I'm super excited for these to launch. So again, the minute that these do launch, I will be telling you about them. And yeah, but I finished the testers that they gave me, if that gives any indication of how I will end up enjoying the product. Another hair product that I finished, I believe this line has been discontinued because it was sent to me quite a while ago, like years and apartments ago, and I'm just now finishing it. But it's the Dark and Lovely Blowout Smoothing Weightless Wash. And obviously for my hair now, I don't need like a smoothing weightless wash. My hair is pretty weightless on its own. But something that I found interesting is when this said weightless wash, I thought that it was going to be maybe a little bit more clarifying, like help get all of the weight and, gunk and stuff in your hair out. But I just found that this wasn't really shampoo. It wasn't cleansing enough for me. Like, it shampooed, it lathered, okay. But as far as my scalp feeling cleaned afterwards, I just didn't feel like that was happening. Like, I mainly used this on the days where I just needed to wash my hair. Like, it wasn't my regular wash day. I was in between wash days, but I did some sort of activity that made me want my hair washed. And I would use this so that I didn't feel like I was stripping or cleansing my hair too much, with having too many shampoos in a certain amount of time. So almost like a co-wash with this still being, a shampoo. Again, not my favorite. I think it's discontinued and it should probably stay that way. Of course, we have a Tom's of Maine toothpaste. I always have a Tom's of Maine toothpaste in my empties pretty much. This is the brand that I've been using for years and I am going to continue using it. I accidentally got the fluoride-free one this time, and I did go back to the fluoride one because I believe in science and believe that fluoride helps your teeth. However, I wish that Tom's of Maine would change the packaging so that you could more easily identify the fluoride-free one from the fluoride one, because again, that's something where even the last time where I was repurchasing it at a different store than when I had purchased this original 2-pack that I got, I noticed that I kept having to like look really well. And at one point I did think that I was picking up the fluoride one and had still picked up a box of the fluoride free. So again, that might just be like a me thing. It's something that was solved with me just reading and taking a little bit of extra time in the store. But also, as someone who gets really overstimulated by the store and who has one time bought the wrong one accidentally, as someone who is pretty detail oriented, I think it could be useful for them to have different, some sort of more noticeable difference between this and the fluoride, or the fluoride free and the fluoride version. So I've really always loved the Ordinary's glycolic acid toning solution. It's really good for on your underarms if you're a person who doesn't use aluminum in deodorant like myself. I just prefer regular deodorants. Sometimes the aluminum in deodorants, just the way that baking soda or other deodorants, like, they can cause some irritation for me. So everyone do what works for you. This helps with, of course, killing the odor causing bacteria. And I also like using this to exfoliate and help soften up my feet. However, I'm looking into alternatives because I just am not sure that I want to buy the Ordinary anymore. And the Ordinary was always one of those things, and it could just be me. I want to buy less, hopefully, from like larger conglomerates and more from like independent startups, independent brands, even if it's like a celebrity brand, you know, like TPH, still brands that are not necessarily associated with the big beauty conglomerates like Estee Lauder and LVMH and stuff like that, which again, you're not going to be able to avoid those brands completely. But I just have a little bit more of like a wanting to support some smaller brands, even if they're like, you know, brands that are well known, ones that are not under the big conglomerates completely, or that still have some sort of independent ownership, or even if you know what I'm saying. And like now The Ordinary is an Estee Lauder brand, and people have even said, you know, I feel as though the quality isn't as good, that they might be swapping out ingredients, da da da. I don't know the validity of any of that. I haven't purchased a new one because this honestly lasted me quite a while for the uses I was using it for. So I haven't purchased another one in a while. Let me know if there's like a glycolic acid solution that, you know, works for you. I've seen pretty good things about, again, Naturium stuff. So I might just, you know, switch over to Naturium for things. But again, I just kind of want to support brands who are not owned by the big conglomerates. I think that some of the larger beauty brands and conglomerates, and just, you know, these multinational companies that have their toe in a little bit of everything, I feel as though it's gotten out of control with how much they can control the economy, our government, all of that. So again, I just want to maybe shop a little bit more independent of that. I also finished this native whole body deodorant in the coconut and vanilla scent. And I had tried one of these, like the sweet peach and nectar one. That one I liked okay. Again, I don't think it's one that I would use in the summertime or like deep in the summer heat, because I just don't feel like it's super long lasting. But I didn't hate it, especially for like winter time. I was like, it works well enough for winter. However, the coconut and vanilla one has a very play-doughy type of smell to me. And I also feel as though this one was irritating my underarms. Like even with just coming out of the shower, having used a regular bar soap, you know, just Dove, and then putting this underneath my arms, I was still sometimes experiencing some irritation. So this is not for me. I won't be repurchasing any of the scents, even though I did, again, like the sweet peach one a little bit. This one kind of turned me off from them. And there's just too many other deodorants that I have. I don't need a deodorant and body mist, number one. I'm never going to use this as like a, you know, body mist. It's only going to be deodorant because that's the way that my brain works. And I feel like most of us aren't going to use a deodorant body spray like just all over ourselves. Like, and if you do, like, this is not a call out or me saying that you're weird, but I'm just saying, like, I feel like we pretty, oh, or a lot of people, again, could just be me and my brain, but we kind of put things into categories, and it can be difficult to like break out of using. Like it can be difficult to even say, hey, I don't have a face moisturizer, or like I ran out of face moisturizer, I can use a lotion, you know, face lotion for one night. Obviously not something that you want to recommend doing all the time, but like for one day, it's one thing. So either way, I won't be repurchasing this. I don't think it's very good. And native deodorants in general to me aren't, like, even their stick deodorants are kind of bad. So I would stick personally with the body washes. I haven't tried their lotions before. So if you want to see me try one of those, let me know a scent that doesn't smell like Play-Doh. I finished the Bioma Smoothing Body Polish, and I honestly had a different idea. I did end up liking this, but at first I thought I wasn't going to like it because I had a different idea of this than how it actually, like the texture of it, than how it actually is. Because with it being called a body polish, I was thinking that it was going to be more along the lines of a body scrub. And while this definitely has like scrubbing beads in it, it is very light. And I feel like it has the PHA in here, and that it is mostly going for a like light physical exfoliation with mostly chemical exfoliation. So again, I do feel like my body was nice and smooth after using this. I just feel as though because it was more of that chemical exfoliant than having even more of that like rough, and again, this is my body, I have very rough dry skin on my body, so I need something that is a little bit more, it has a little bit more oomph, it has like pretty substantial like physical exfoliation, at least for my body. So I just felt like sometimes when I was using this, like the chemical exfoliant was like helping bring the dead skin up to the surface, but then it was making me look ashy and flaky because like the physical exfoliation part wasn't getting as much of the dead skin off as I would have liked. I felt like it worked even better if I did use it with a washcloth, because then with a washcloth versus just trying to, you know, rub it in with my hands, the washcloth gave a little bit more of like a mechanical scrub with it. But honestly, my favorite thing, more than how this product worked, the thing that could get me to repurchase this over and over again was the scent. It's just so beautifully fresh and clean. It's just like baby powder, but like if baby powder was a little bit more floral, I guess, and even more clean smelling than baby powder, which doesn't make sense, I know, as I'm saying it, but it makes sense when you smell it. I would love to have a perfume in this scent. If Bioma ever wants to dabble in perfumes, please make one this scent, because it would literally just be the perfect everyday, just throwing it on myself type of scent. But again, I could see myself repurchasing this, but it's not on the docket to repurchase immediately. I want to try some other body scrub products out first. Another deodorant that I finished, and you can kind of tell, you know, it's like crumbling the last little bits of it in the cap. This is the Humble Moroccan Rose deodorant. It is vegan and for sensitive skin, and it's aluminum free as well. It has, I don't think, any baby, or not baby powder, baking powder. But I actually really like this. The scent is more of a powdery rose type of scent. Like, it's fine, but it's not necessarily, you know, my favorite scent of anything, especially deodorant, you know, in the world. But I really liked that this helped make me feel dry even when I was sweating. Like, I was using this in the dead of Georgia summer and still didn't feel like I was sweating and smelling bad or having BO, or, you know, I would still obviously have sweat marks, because unless you use an antiperspirant, nothing's going to make you stop sweating, but it didn't feel like wetness, you know, like it was wicking off, like my clothes were drying quicker, and I think this was absorbing some of the sweat too, because it is kind of like a cream deodorant. If you do have underarm hair like I do, which is completely normal, don't make me pull out some of my TikToks about what being hairless translates to, what that body standard translates to. But if you're like me and you do have hair underneath your arms, this will like get gunked up in it. Sometimes you'll like see hair on your underarm. You'll be able to see the white on your underarms and things like that. But in the grand scheme of things, I would rather people be able to see that I visibly put on deodorant today than to walk around smelling like I didn't put on deodorant, and people knowing that, like, or thinking, just being like, this bitch didn't put on deodorant. So I don't really mind. I feel like not wanting to see your deodorant in clothes and not wanting to see deodorant marks and like making big deals over that is like, I could do a video on it, but I feel like a lot of people wouldn't like it. Just in general, your life gets a lot better. You realize that you enjoy certain products, or that products are actually effective when you're just not looking for them to make you be pretty all the time, or are accepting that there are always going to be like drawbacks with certain things. Anyway, all that is to say, we don't need to make this video any longer than what it's going to be. Let's get into the last of these, which I had a hair care product. I forgot that I finished this, and I actually did like it. It's the JVN Complete Pre-Scalp oil. So it's a pre-wash oil for people who have dry scalps. And I actually felt like this was really effective for my scalp. I wish that I had had it during the winter time to really test it out as well. But I really enjoyed putting this on before washing my hair. I'd put it in, leave it in my hair for 15 to 20, sometimes even 30 minutes, depending on how bad my scalp was at that point, which I'm now realizing was the other hair oil that I was using was making my scalp dry and itchy and causing allergic reactions, which is why I felt like my scalp felt so good after using this. So that's another thing. If you're having an allergic reaction, this will help soothe your scalp during that and help make the dandruff and dry, flaky skin less noticeable after you wash your hair. I also like that it doesn't have like a very intense scent. Like it has a pretty light, maybe almost like orange blossomy type of scent, but it's not anything that is like too aggressive. And it's something that made me want to try more scalp oils, more anti-dandruff oils. I could see myself going back to this one after a while, but again, it introduced me to the category of pre-wash scalp oils, and I think that they do work nicely with my scalp now that I am bald. I feel like they definitely help with some things going on and with like just again my scalp health in general. So like I said, I could see myself repurchasing this one. I probably want to try some other things first though. I finished an EOS Jasmine Peach Lotion. I think this was one of the ones that I bought myself. And then I have another backup that they sent me because I love their lotions. These are some of my favorites, especially if you like a lotion that balances having decent, what is that called, moisturization with having a good scent, because I feel like even though we're getting better, brands overall are stepping their cookies up and stepping their game up, but I feel like there definitely was a time, especially earlier when the EOS lotions were originally coming out, where lotions were either substantial. You have your Eucerin, your Jergens, those types, they're either substantial or they smelled good. And this one kind of bridged the gap between both having decent moisturization and it smelling good. I will say my wintertime skin sometimes needs a little bit more of this, or I need to like top it off with an oil. But again, I have really, really dry, scaly skin. And in general, like I'm drinking water right now because I'm thirsty, but it's probably because I'm dehydrated. I feel like I'm constantly dehydrated. I don't know how to get enough water. Even when I drink water, I feel dehydrated. So I feel like not drinking enough water probably contributes somewhat to the fact that my skin feels so dry. In the warmer months though, I don't really have to worry about my skin looking dry with this. And in particular, the Jasmine Peach scent has like a floral like undertone to it, but like the fruitiness is definitely almost like a candied artificial peach. So not something that's like, it's fresh and clean, but it's still, again, not like a clean, crisp type of fragrance, if that makes sense. It's definitely more of like a fruity floral sway, but I have so many of these, I probably will never need to buy lotion ever again. So I'm going to continue running through them. And again, as always, thank you EOS for sending me so many of their lotions to keep me stocked up, because I do go through them. I feel as though I don't like empty them super quickly because I'm using so many different types of them, but I probably use them at least once a day, whether it is, again, just like putting it all over my body after a shower, or whether I'm just like, oh, this little spot on my leg is a little ashy, let me put some lotion on that. Something that I loved years ago, but now my older self revisiting it was just kind of like, yeah, you liked it because of the smell and because the brand was a little bit more expensive and luxury, which of course Sol de Janeiro isn't the most luxury expensive brand out there, but like to someone who mainly used drugstore makeup until they were in their sophomore or junior year of college, like Sol de Janeiro seemed really, classy to me. But the original Boom Boom cream, the scent, of course, the what is it, the Charoza 62 scent, it's beautiful, kind of like nutty, sweet, caramelized fragrance. But the cream itself, I don't feel like is that, and again, it could just be my skin type in general, but I don't feel like it's hydrating at all or moisturizing at all. It's one that I sometimes feel like I have to go in with 2 or 3, coats of it to feel like it's doing something. And I just don't want to have to put like multiple coats on my skin. So if you're someone who wants something that like blends into your skin, or your skin just kind of drinks up and it goes back to kind of feeling like you have nothing on, you might like this. But for me, again, it just wasn't really moisturizing. Like I could put this on and 10 minutes later drag my nails up my, body and have ash coming off. So again, more for the scent, but honestly, again, maybe it's the prefrontal cortex. That's what it's called. It's, becoming more understanding of which things are actually worth my money, even if I want like something more high end. Like I can get a million lotions now that have a good scent to them. I don't need them to necessarily work well, but if I'm going to pay, upwards of $20 to $30 for a lotion, it better work well too. Like it's just kind of like there's so many drugstore and less expensive brands are catching up to these luxury, even mid-tier, type of brands. It doesn't make sense, especially for mid-tier brands, to like purchase some of their products and only get half of the experience that you want out of them. And there's actually another one of these Sol de Janeiro creams that I like better than this one, and I wish that all of their body products had that formulation, but I'm not done with that one yet. Probably because I don't have to layer so many layers of it on. I finished this Bioma Brightening Toner. This has barrier lipids, lactic acid, and birch extract. And if I'm being honest, this was my least favorite Bioma product. I think it actually might be one of the ones that are responsible for the breakouts that I've been getting all along my chin, because I feel as though I would use this and then like put it away. And it wasn't until more recently where I was just like, okay, let's try to get through some of the skincare you already have, get things out, and then you can buy some new serums and, exfoliants and whatever else. So I wasn't using this super consistently. I would use it like once, notice a pimple, and then stop using it. But now that I've used it more consistently and used it to the point of finishing it, it's either this or the SPF that I've been testing out that is causing, these breakouts. And I definitely feel like it is this. So again, I generally like Bioma's products. Most of their skincare works for me. This is the first product that I've noticed possibly breaking me out. Like there's other products that I've just kind of been like, oh, I don't love this product, but this is the first one that I would just say like, try something else. Outside of the fact that I didn't love the way that it smelled. It kind of smells sticky and like honey-like syrupy. Not even honey-like, more like maple syrup. And I honestly didn't like the packaging for this one, and it could just be totally a me thing or a me wanting an easier way to put this on, but I preferred putting this in a spray bottle and spraying it on than to put it in my hand. Like there's something about the texture of it. Maybe it's just that it was a more liquidy texture than even like their Milky Toner and some of their other products. So it was just kind of runny, and I felt like the spray, didn't waste as much product or get it everywhere. I feel like that was what it was, but I literally used like 3/4 of this bottle in a different container. So I don't really remember what it was like, the original experience. But yeah, I personally don't like that one. But I will let you guys know if I'm still noticing breakouts with without that in my routine. If I am, then I'm going to take the sunscreen that I've been using out of my routine and like use a different one. And if it's still not either of those two things, it's probably just hormones. And it's just one of those phases where my body is going through changes and it's like, hey, we need to have some skin freakouts right now. And we'll just get over it and get through it with our pimple patches and all of our, treats to try to make it less painful. Honestly, for me, it's not always that pimples are like unsightly or, something that through our societal conditioning we're made to feel negative about or made to feel like we're more ugly because of. It's not even always that. For me, it's just that sometimes they're really painful. I've talked about it before over on my TikTok, but like, honestly, most of my pimples are more painful than any of my herpes outbreaks, and people make such a big deal about herpes and it's so disgusting and painful and all that stuff. And it's like, no, a lot of my outbreaks are a walk in the park compared to my pimples. So again, that's just another thing. Decolonize your mind. I talked about this in my Project Pan 2024 finale video, but I did finish the Milani, the foundation stick right as they are coming out with a new foundation stick that is also called Conceal and Perfect, but this is their Conceal and Perfect foundation stick in the shade Nutmeg. I really liked this. I thought about digging out the rest of the product that's in there, but as I've been talking about and having a ongoing conversation about on here and literally any other platform where people will listen to me on, I feel as though there should be more pushback against the brands with creating products that the packaging is more sustainable, either recyclable or where you can get all of the product out, because there's so many types of beauty products, concealers, stick products, where like without having another tool like a makeup spatula or something to dig out, or another container even to put the product in once you depot it, which again, you can sometimes reuse things, but if you don't have something big or small enough to reuse it or like airtight enough, you know what I'm saying? Like either way, so many things seem to push us towards having to buy another product to be able to use all of the beauty product that we have. And I think we need to start pushing back on brands I forgot that this was also starting to smell. But I do think we need to start pushing back on brands as far as them becoming more innovative instead of just pushing us repackaged versions of the same things over and over again. Actually innovating and coming up with ways to not waste product without, again, having to buy different items in order to get all of the use out of it. That was a very disjointed, piecing together of those thoughts, but I think that anyone who listens to me talk for any amount of time was able to piece that together. These makeup empties technically aren't empties, but I was going through my collection looking for things for my Project Pan for 2025 that I wanted to finish up, and I just realized that these were, they were dried up, weren't working anymore. So the first one are the Stila, what are these? The Shimmer and Glows, I think. Yeah, Shimmer and Glow liquid eyeshadows, and I have the shade Kitten and Cloud, and both of these were like pretty kind of silvery. One had a little bit more of like a purpley duochrome, like light lavender duochrome shift, and this other one, Kitten, is just like their straight up kind of taupey champagne shade. I, like everyone else, really have always liked the Stila Glitter and Glows and Shimmer and Glows, but they, compared to other cream and liquid eyeshadows, dry out so quickly. Again, I mean, I was able to use these and I was happy with the use that I got out of them, but I have other cream and liquid shadows that I've had longer than these that are still functional. And I know, again, I could probably get a mixing medium or something else to revive these. That goes back to having to buy another product in order for you to get complete use out of the product that you have. And of course, part of the reason that I didn't finish these is because I have a lot of other makeup that I'm focusing on. But I feel as though I've even heard people who don't have a lot of makeup or who are using these like really religiously in their makeup collection talk about how they often dry out before you're able to use all of them, even some of the mini size ones that come in different sets. So again, for Stila prices, I can go to the drugstore, and I know quantity isn't necessarily like the issue here, but I can go to the drugstore and get 3 of a liquid eyeshadow formula, and those actually still be functional, you know? And I know with eye products and using them past their expiration date, it's a little bit hairier than some other products in particular, but I still would just like my products to not dry up this quickly. If again, I have lower end, less expensive cream and liquid eyeshadows that haven't dried out, that I've had longer than I've had these Stila ones, it kind of begs the question, what exactly are you paying for with Stila outside of the name? And I don't feel as though with makeup, at least, again, because quality has become like between high end and lower end has become so like it's getting closer and closer to each other. I don't feel like we really, and maybe I'm just out of the loop, like care about the brand name. Like there's still always going to be staple brands around, but I just don't feel like we care as much about brand names. Like no one, I don't know, maybe I'm just, again, at the age where no one is caring about that stuff. So I think that people don't care about it. There's also this NYX Slide On Glide On lip liner in the shade Intimate. And Intimidate. And I think I had another one in here, but it went somewhere that's not in here anymore because I remember pulling out both of the liners that I had like this. I also had one in the shade that I think was like Beyond Nude or something like that. And I realized that like they're dry. You see, there's nothing coming off on there. And these used to be super creamy. So I was like, it is their time. I did like these. I feel as though now I may be a little bit more picky with my lip liners than I was back when I originally bought this because it went on really nice and evenly and like creamily. But I also felt like it didn't necessarily, well, maybe it is bleeding is what I was experiencing. I didn't felt like it was like bleeding or like feathering out, you know, of the lip line. But sometimes I felt, it was migrating. It was feathering out of the lip line, I guess. And I just didn't want to admit it until now. But it would definitely, like, not on its own, but only when I used glosses or like a more emollient lip products did it just kind of start like bleeding to the outer lip line of my lips. And I've just tried some other brands of lip liners. Like I really love the Milani lip pencils, so I probably won't go back to these. I also didn't love the color of this. This was, again, when I was first learning about lip liner and using it and stuff and didn't know which colors would fit me. I was buying some things offline, and Ulta.com used to be really bad, and I don't know if they still are because I don't order as much off of Ulta online anymore. I prefer to go in store and view things physically, but I just remember Ulta used to be the freaking worst about their product pictures looking darker on the website than they actually were in store. So this shade was kind of like a burnt orange shade, but it wasn't quite like deep enough for me. So it kind of often didn't look much like lip liner. Anyway, NYX has also changed the formula of a lot of their lip liners, and with the formula change came like color changes, so not all of them are exact one-to-one. So even if I did like this shade, the chance that it would be the exact same shade as when I bought it, you know, 5+ years ago or however long it was, is very low. So again, I don't need to buy any more lip liners. I have plenty to make it through, you know, probably the next 3, 4, 5 years, but I probably wouldn't repurchase those with my current makeup taste. The last thing I have is the one perfume sample empty, and this is from Mack-n-Gnosh. It is their scent Amarose. And while this is a beautiful scent and the Mack-n-Gnosh scents were really beautiful, Mack-n-Gnosh is not technically around anymore, even though the perfumer technically has restarted a brand. The way that they let Mack-n-Gnosh and like the controversy around it, if you're on Perfume Talk or like deep into niche and indie perfume lore, you probably already know all of this. But like the way that they just kind of weren't answering orders and emails, and even I was one of the people who ordered something, had no communication as to what was going on with the website suddenly being taken down, and like no word, no email, no nothing to be able to get in contact with the brand itself. And I had to end up going to my bank and being like, hey, I spent all this money, I didn't receive anything, haven't received tracking, and here's all of the other people on, you know, Instagram, TikTok, whatever social media platform that have also had this issue, and how he is not responding to anyone, like no posts, no nothing, like we don't know what's going on. That was just, especially when it was a moment where I bought those perfumes to treat myself, even though I was having a really shitty go of it. I can't support that personally. So I know some people, and the only reason I'm talking about this is because sometimes when I've talked about Mack-n-Gnosh and been like, oh, they don't exist anymore, I have had people be like, oh yeah, he actually came back, he has a new perfume, like the perfumer and owner of what was formerly Mack-n-Gnosh. He has a new website, a new all of this stuff, and he's taking orders via PayPal. And I was just kind of like, knowing that this has happened not once, not twice, but now thrice, I can't in good faith promote the perfume and the brand and like anything without giving that caveat. So I won't be purchasing anymore. It was a beautiful fragrance while it lasted. It's just like this beautiful, like honey dripping rose fragrance with like a kind of oody type of woody background. It was like a woody smokiness there. It was an absolute beautiful fragrance. It's one of the first fragrances in my perfume talk journey that I remember someone stopping me in a Target and they said, oh my gosh, you smell so good. Like, what is this? And I gave them the name, like showed them the website and everything. I was like, I absolutely love this fragrance. And she was like, it smells so good. And all I can hope is that that person didn't try to buy this fragrance and also get swindled out of their money. Again, it's sad when even a positive memory that I had associated with this perfume is tainted by the business's bad practices. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it was a monster of a one, so let me know what you were eating or snacking on while you were watching this, and I'm glad that you were here with me today. I was actually feeling kind of crappy today, so I'm glad that I filmed this video, and I'm gonna go before I cry because we're not gonna cry on camera. Anyway, I hope you're staying safe and healthy wherever you are when you're watching this, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.